Okay, so this is a kind of introductory class that is going to take a lot. So this is Software Application Development Studio SOE 306, an introductory class. By the end of this lesson, I want to inform you that the meeting is being recorded, and I want to believe you saw a notification to that effect. Okay. So at the end of this class, I expect that you will be able to define what a software application development studio is. You'll be able to explain the purpose and the significance of a software development studio. And you can as well on your own be able to identify the teams that we can find, or rather the components or the people that make up a software development team and their roles, and discuss different types of software development studio. So by way of introduction, a software application development studio is kind of an organized workspace. Just liken it to a photo studio or a music studio, where you get everything, you will see everything that you will need to produce a song. So that's why it is called a studio. Whatever that you will need to produce the song, the instrument, both the recording and the musical instrument, the lightings and whatever, and the workspace itself. Okay, all of these things are what makes a studio. So when somebody says, let's go to the studio, is actually talking about a specified location. So it's, first of all, a location. It's first of all, a place or an office. But inside of that office is not just a building that makes up a studio. There are other things that are inside of the building that will make us to say, okay, this is a studio. Okay. There are other things that are inside of a building that can differentiate one studio from another. So there are different kinds of studios. You have music studio, you have photo studio. You can also have architectural studio. The distinguishing, all of them are contained in a place or in a building or in a house. But the distinguishing factor, which is also very important, are the components of that studio, the thing that makes up that studio, the persons. So if we look forward to an architectural studio, we should be expecting to see architects work there. You are looking for or rather, if you are considering a photographic studio, we also should be looking for we also should be looking to see photographers inside of the studio, video, photo editors, and so on and so forth. And if we see human beings inside of those studios, we also of necessity must know that those human beings are instruments that handle equipment in order to bring to pass the purpose of setting up such studio. So a software application development studio is an organized environment or workspace where teams collaborate to design, develop, test, and deploy software applications. So they are there to design, develop, tests, and deploy. So all of these things that happen in a studio are done using some specified tools. So it encompasses the infrastructure, the tools, and even the methodologies, as well as the team roles that are required for the software development lifecycle. The studio can be physical spaces or even virtual platforms that can facilitate the entire process of building software, beginning from the conception of that software to the point that we are setting it out or deploying it for use and then for subsequent maintenance. So the things that can be seen in a software development studio include, one, the collaboration tools. So the moment we start talking about teams working together, that is going to be possible if there are tools that actually bring these people together for them to be able to interact together. So if we are a team and we are working on software projects, we're not going to be taking turns to work on a single machine. So there are tools that have been developed for members of the teams to use in collaboration, in working together. So when one aspect of the work is assigned to somebody, he is able to do that same work from his own end, and then they are also able to put those works together from different nodes or from different ends as the teams work on their own. So collaboration tools enable team members who are developers, designers, testers, and the project managers to work together effectively. So there are some platforms that enable that. For that, you have GitHub, okay, which most of you may be using already. Then you have Slack that can be used for communication, and you have then the next thing is the development tools. One of those development tools which you also have been using, I want to believe you are still hearing me, right? Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry, a call came into my phone. So another thing we can see there are development tools. We've first of all talked about the tools that we use to collaborate, to work together. Then inside of same studio, you have the tools that you also use now to work. And these are development tools like the integrated development environments. You have the virtual version control systems, Git, and you have other programming tools that you can use to do your work. You see them. Then you have the project management tools, which I've also mentioned as one of the collaboration tools. So one of those project management tools, or rather some of them are Jira, you have Asana, and so on and so forth. Okay, they do the same thing. Then you have the deployment and the testing tools. So these tools and platforms are used for continuous integration and the continuous deployment of your work, and the aid automated testing and the monitoring of software performance after it has been deployed. So what then is the purpose of software development studio? It is to be able to provide an environment, a structured, collaborative, and efficient environment for teams to work together in order to create, test, and deploy software application. So these tools are integrated inside of the software development tools, the development studio. You can bet with me that although your phone, you can use it to snap your pictures, you know that the output of what you can see when you go to a studio, a photo studio, to take a snap will be completely different from what you can see when you are using your own phone to do such things. So in studios, there are some dedicated systems that are meant for special aspects of the software development process. Okay. Now, the purpose of the software development studios, as listed here, involves these 1 to 6 items. Number one is that it provides an environment where multiple stakeholders. Now, when we talk about stakeholders, we are not just talking about the people that develop or code. Okay, you will have developers, you will have designers, you have testers, you will have clients, and there are persons that are omitted here, and those kind of persons are very much of great importance to me. Or have the requirement engineers, and they are not here. So please, I want you to take note of those guys, requirement engineers. These are professionals that specialize in eliciting project requirements from clients. Okay, they are very important and is often neglected. And some persons think that software development is all about code, or rather software engineering is all about coding. It's not. It's just an aspect. So you have developers, yes. You have designers, yes. You have testers, yes. You have the client who owns the work, yes. Or you have the requirement engineer who elicits requirements from the client. So the purpose is so as to enable team members communicate, share resources, and work on different aspects of the software development process simultaneously. Okay. Number two is that a studio organizes the SDLC from planning and design to coding, testing, deployment, and maintenance. So it ensures that all the necessary tools that one will need to prosecute a software project are at the beck and call of all the team members. So all of those things are properly organized. Okay. Many studios follow Agile methodologies, and it allows them to work in sprints. So you notice that working in a studio help the people to quickly adapt changes and continually improve software, improve the software through an iterative process. And this process will reduce risk, manage time efficiently, and focus on delivering working software incrementally. Now, let me quickly explain what we mean by agile process. And I want to believe that in the subsequent times, we are going to be dealing more on it. But let me say it now. When you are developing work on your own, although you may tell us, although you may write on your work or maybe on your project, for some of you, some people that are already doing their projects, okay, although they will say that they are following agile methodology, they are just saying that in just for statement's sake, okay? But when you are in a studio environment, all the properties of agile methodology, because agile is actually a project management methodology, right? Okay, all the processes are strictly followed. Now, let me explain. There is what is called sprint, and there is what is called daily stand-up. Now, what is daily stand-up? When you come for a when you come to work, the team leader will, organize the people in the team and say, okay, what is it here for us today? Okay. They identify the things that they need to cover. Okay. And then they share the work and you know what you are working on. This thing may not properly be followed or strictly be followed when you are working alone and you're not working in a software team. But when you're working in a software team, first of all, is that there is a kind of a meeting that you sit together in a round table to discuss the project. All the team members will be there to discuss the project. Then you go to another state of dividing the project into sprints. Okay, so when we bring a project, we say we are going to develop an e-commerce website for a particular organization. I hope you're following me. And then all the aspects of the project, we divide it into sprints. So for instance, if we say we are going to finish this project in 12 weeks, we can now say, okay, let's have 12 weeks, a 12-week sprint. Okay, so for one, maybe we share the sprint into weeks and say for every week is a sprint. Now, that project will now divide it into 12 parts. So at the very first time, when we have a sprint meeting is organized, okay, to know what was assigned for that sprint and how each member of the team has actually come up with the challenges they have and the device on how to overcome the challenge and move on to the next phase. Okay, what I have just said is called sprint retrospective, thinking about what was assigned and what was covered along the line. Okay, now, if there are challenges, we'll now look at the challenges and proper solution on how to overcome the challenge that we're facing per time. All right. So this is what is done in sprint when you are using agile management methodology, project management methodology. And in a software studio, these processes are followed strictly. Okay. The work is divided into sprints and the team members are following the sprint. They know what to do per time. But if you're working alone, you will choose what to do per time on your own, and you are not being monitored. So sometimes you will just discover that your work you may not be able to deliver the work on time because there is no proctoring, there is no oversight over what you are doing, and there is no structured way of delivering and tracking your progress. So, but that is not found in a software development studio, because when you have actually prepared these things in a sprint, you now notice that you are working to meet the sprint deadline. You know what you are supposed to deliver per time, and then you are working tirelessly to make sure that you meet up. So that is it. So many studios follow agile methodology. This is in a brief what you'll find in agile methodology. In subsequent classes, I think there'll be space to really go deeper into it. So some software studios incorporate tools for continuous integration and continuous delivery. Okay, are you still following me? Can you still hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please. Just like I told you before, my system is showing me something related to power issues. So let's continue. So what we mean by that is that there is a system that is set up to continuously test what you are doing and integrating it per time. And so at the end of every sprint, a working software, or rather a level of a working software, must have been delivered at the end of every sprint, because there is a continuous integration of what the different team members of the software development team are doing, and then they are being delivered. And if you are working alone, you may not have space for these things or time for these things, or you may not be in a proctored environment to see that these things are done, okay? So this automation reduces manual work, improves accuracy, and speeds up the development and the deployment process. So with built-in testing tools and frameworks, the studio environment also ensures that software is tested for bugs, security vulnerabilities, and performance issues. And this testing can be done in parallel. That means it can be done when the development is still going on, meaning you are testing as you are working, okay? And before you come to the integration testing, so have the unit testing. I want to believe, okay, I don't know if you have done a course on that, software testing, I've forgotten the course. Studios often include project management systems to assign tasks, I've mentioned this, to track progress of the project, manage timeline to make sure that we are working in line with our proposed delivery dates. It helps to ensure accountability, helps team members to stay organized and focused on their project goals. The significance of a software development studio is that it makes for enhanced productivity by bringing together all necessary tools and stakeholders in one environment. So by this, teams can work faster and more efficiently with fewer bottlenecks and a smoother hands-off between stages of development. So in a studio environment, communication channels are streamlined, so it makes it easy for cross-functional teams to work together, because you are there with the person that is doing the front end, and you are communicating with the person that is doing the front end. The back end guy is communicating with somebody that developed the database, and so on and so forth. So communication is very, very important to aid the flow of communication, information from one team member to another. So we talked about Agile methodology, which is in continuous integration and automated testing, okay? And so on and so forth. Studio supports the scaling of projects by enabling teams to add new features, adapt to changing user needs, and handle growing volume of data or users without breaking the system. With the incorporation of iterative development and continuous testing, studios can also identify and mitigate risk earlier in the development process and reducing the chances of costly errors or delays later on. In other words, when you are developing and you are testing the work, at a point in time, you will discover that we cannot go further than this. And maybe the algorithm you wrote thinking that it was going to do a certain thing is not performing as you supposed. So instead of coming to the end of delivering the project and discovering that, you quickly come to that point that you pause the project and fix the issue before continuing. So it helps in optimizing collaboration, automating key processes, and reducing the time that is spent on debugging and the manual testing of the system. Okay. Now let's look at the team members, the software development team, and the role they play. Who are the persons that we can find in our team and the role they play? So we say that the team, the software development team, is a group of professionals who collaborate within a software development studio with the purpose of designing, developing, testing, and maintaining software applications. Each of the team members play a role, a specialized role that contributes his unique expertise onto the development process. So the team workers, the output of their work are put collectively to ensure that the products are developed efficiently with the purpose of meeting the user requirements. Okay, in a typical software development studio, the team members work within an environment that is equipped with the necessary tools, technologies, and processes to streamline software creation. The very first and the major persons that we see in the software development team, the very first and the main key person is the person that owns the project. The person that owns the project. Okay, the product owner is the person that represents the client or the stakeholder, and that person is responsible for defining the features and the vision of the software product. And he's saddled with the responsibility of gathering and prioritizing requirements, defining what the product backlog is like and managing its refinement, ensuring that the development aligns with the business goals and user needs. Okay, now I've just mentioned the product owner. From what we have just said, you will discover that there is a lot on the side of the product owner, but there is somebody that must make that work. Because in some instances, or rather in most instances, the product owner may not be properly acquainted with what is necessary, or rather what is needed in the product, although he is the person that conceptualizes the project and he wants his project done that way. Okay, so for that thing to be properly executed, there is the need for a software requirement engineer to interface with the project owner. I hope you're still hearing me. Okay, so he is the person that is a more professional at interpreting the product owner's desire and converting it into a requirement document. I hope you are getting what I'm saying. I'm trying to see how to explain this thing properly. Let me give you an instance. You are being trained to become a software engineer, and maybe at a point in your life, you would want to build a house, and then you may contract an architect to help you do that. Although you have in mind that you want to build a 5-bedroom duplex, you may just tell your architect that you want a 5-bedroom duplex. Now, the architect, upon your desire, may now know how to structure things. And by asking you what the features you want in that project, okay, by asking you such questions, is able to properly refine your desire to own a 5-bedroom duplex, that when you look at it, you are going to be satisfied with the ecstasy that will be put around it. In other words, it's going to give a professional touch to it, that your, let me use the word, crude desire. So the product owner comes to the team with the purpose of conveying the company's or the client's desire to have a software developed for him. But the requirement engineer is the person that through interview elicits properly the requirements of that project and converts it into a requirement document. this particular person is of very much importance to the project team, because experience has shown that most product owners, or rather most clients, do not really know the complete thing they need at the point of their interaction with developers if they did not pass through the software requirements engineer. Okay, so the next person, I've actually talked about the product owner and I've talked about the software requirements engineer. Why I took time to explain it is because I don't think that there's a place in this note where I listed the software requirements engineer. Okay, so the next person you will now have there is the project manager, and is the person that oversees the overall progress of the project by ensuring that it is completed on time and within scope. Is the person that plans, executes, and closes projects. He monitors the timelines, budgets, and resources, and then facilitates communication between the team and the stakeholders. Okay, so if he assigns a work to you at the beginning of the sprint, he continues to monitor you and to make sure that by the close of the sprint, you have delivered the entire thing that you are supposed to deliver, so that when the different aspects of the team integrate their work together, the proposed aim, or rather the place that the output that is expected for that specialized sprint will be achieved. So that is the work of the project manager. So in other words, before you become a project manager, you will be so experienced to know the amount of work that will be enough for the front-end developer, the back-end developer, and so on and so forth for the period of the sprint. And you also will have the stamina to be able to push these team members onto making sure that they come up with what they are supposed to come up with within the specified time frame. Okay, so next we have the software developer or the software engineer, and these are the persons that are responsible for writing, testing, and debugging codes to implement the features of the software. Okay, the features of the software. Okay, I think there is a place where you will have the designer. There is the person that is saddled with the work of designing the project from the requirements document. You design the project using different maybe UML diagrams to conceptualize or to put the project in graphical form. Okay, and then the software developers or engineers, we look at the blueprint in graphical form and convert it into working codes that can be tested. Okay, now you have the UI UX designer who focuses on creating intuitive and user-friendly interfaces that ensures a positive user experience. Okay, now these set of persons have the design thinking knowledge to be able to conceptualize how the look and feel of a particular project will be like in order to satisfy the users of that project. So there is need for such persons to have the first the artistic artistic mindset and the understanding of different categories of users in order to be able to design an interface that will be very much acceptable for such categories of persons. based on the project they have at hand. Okay, so they conduct user research and understand user needs. They design wireframes, mockups, prototypes of the software, and ensures that the software interface is not just visually appealing, but also accessible and easy to use. So they collaborate with developers to ensure that the design specifications are accurately implemented. Okay, then you have the quality assurance engineer, and this set of persons ensures that the software meets the quality standard through thorough testing and validation. In other words, we can say that these guys are the M&E specialists. What it means by M&E are the monitoring and evaluation specialists that are also within the team. Because when you set the requirements for the work, or rather the requirements for the project, okay, that requirement talks about the functional requirements of the system, what the system is meant to achieve. And so these guys are the persons that will develop and execute test plans and the test cases. And they will also perform both manual and automated testing in order to find out issues that may have arisen in the course of the project delivery, and also to ensure that the software that the company is going to ship outside is both stable, secure, and meets the functional requirement that is stated in the requirements document. Okay, and then they collaborate with developers to resolve the defects and improve the overall quality of the projects. You have the DevOps engineers, and these guys are responsible for bridging the gap between deployment or development and operations. And so they do that by automating the workflows, managing the infrastructure, and ensuring that there is smooth deployment of the project. Their key responsibilities include setting up and maintaining the software pipeline, the CI/CD pipeline. They monitor the software performance, okay, the scalability and the security of the software, okay, and then they automate the processes of testing, deployment, and scaling, and they also manage cloud services. These are their works. Then you will have the Scrum Master for Agile teams, okay. In the Agile environment, the Scrum Master is the person that facilitates the Agile process, helping the team to follow Scrum practices. And the Scrum Master also organizes and facilitates Scrum ceremonies. Now, when we talk about it, we are talking about those things that I've mentioned before. You have the daily stand-ups, you have the sprint planning, you have the sprint retrospective. So, and he is the one that organizes these things, and they remove impediments that are blocking the progress of the work, and ensures that the team follows Agile principle and improve continuously, and act as a coach and guide for the team, encouraging collaboration and efficiency. Now, if you are not working in a software team, that means you do not have an orga over your head. So the Scrum Master is like the orga that ensures that the work is done as stated on paper. So if we organize our work to be delivered in 12 sprints, he is the one that will make sure that everybody works to get to that. Okay. We have the business analysts, and these guys help to bridge the gap between business stakeholders and development team by translating business requirements into technical specifications. So that analyst conducts detailed requirements gathering and analysis, creates functional and technical documentation, collaborate with stakeholders to understand business objectives, and they assist in ensuring that the final product meets business needs. Now, these have their work mostly related with the requirements engineers, like I've just mentioned, okay? But there is a business angle to every project, or rather every software project that you want to deliver, and it must be followed strictly. Now, finally, we have the database administrator that's responsible for managing the data storage, retrieval, and the security of the data, okay? The DBA designs and manages the database architecture, ensures data integrity, and implements security protocols, optimize data performance for scalability and efficiency, and backs up and restore data as necessary. So the DBA work is not just as easy as setting up a database without taking some key things into consideration. Okay, so you must be sure that the database is normalized to reduce redundancy and things like that. Okay, now there are different types of software development studio. There are different types of software development studio, and these are categorized based on, one, their purpose, two, the audience, and then the goal. So each of these studios is designed to support specific kinds of projects, organizational needs, or communities. So we have listed some of them. You have the commercial software development studio. You see the characteristics. Okay, these are operated by businesses that develop software products, often for sale or subscription. They focus on creating consumer or enterprise software. Okay, they often use project management methodologies like Agile, Scrum, Waterfall to ensure on-time delivery and alignment with business goals. And they prioritize user experience, scalability, security, and performance. You have educational software development studio. Like the name as it implies, these studios are focused on teaching students the processes, tools, and the practices involved in software development work. Okay, so you read up this. You have the open source software development studio. Open source studios focus on building software that are freely available, where anyone can view, modify, contribute to the code base. These studios thrive on community collaboration and transparency. You have the Mozilla Foundation, you have the Apache Software Foundation, and so on and so forth. So then you have the in-house enterprise software development studio. So these studios are just the studio that exists within an organization and that attacks with the responsibility specific internal needs of the organization. In other words, this can just be a kind of IT department in a company. And so inside of the IT department, they have different team members working inside there to ensure that the organizational software needs are being met on daily basis. Okay. Then you will have the independent software development studio. So these studios are smaller, often self-funded teams that develop niche software or create projects. These studios tend to be highly creative and flexible, focusing on unique and innovative ideas. So what are we trying to say here? That about 6 students can come together and say, we want to have our own studio where we will start working together to start delivering projects. Okay, now having looked at all these things, you have these non-profit studios, you have freelance or contract software studios. So you read of this, and this brings us to the end of this. Now, having looked at this, you've seen the members of development teams. You have seen how their different roles come together to ensure that a working software is developed at the end of the day. Having seen this, it behooves you to practically begin to maybe attract yourself to individuals with different abilities, so that you can begin, so that at this point you can begin to form teams, even as you are still in school, to be able to start delivering on projects as a team. Okay, so this is just a way of introducing this course, and in the next class we'll begin to dive deeper into some other issues, and some of them may have been raised at this very point in time. Okay, so I don't know if you have any questions before we call it a day, because my system is almost gone. I have 9% remaining in my battery. So any questions? Yes, Okastara, can I hear you?
Sir, I'm going to be giving PDF for this
I've
course.
delivered this PDF. You're supposed to have collected it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bring now your hand. Any other person? Any other question? Edward.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So I want to ask, the individuals that bring the users or the client's needs to the developer, should this particular, could you call them like the middlemen in the software development or the software studio?
The individuals that do what?
That bring the client's needs to the developers.
I don't understand. That bring the client's needs to the developers.
Yeah, like those people that go for use cases, that go for research, undergo research.
I think those are the categories of people that are called requirement engineers. Those that go to elicit requirements from the developers, right? Sorry, from clients.
Yes.
And those are the kind of persons I call requirement engineers. They are part of the team. Sometimes they don't need to go out to fetch requirements, unless if you want to develop a software that you want to deliver to the public. Are you listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Now, I say that sometimes they don't need to go out to inquire about whether people will use this software or not. I think that's what you meant. Okay. Those that are going to make this. Am I with you? Did I get your question correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that maybe you want to develop a project on your own, and then you want to ascertain whether people will use the product or not. They go and make that market research and further elicit user requirements. Okay, that's one aspect of their work. When they go out, they do that. Then there are other persons. They can also stay in the studio, just like you go to a doctor and the doctor starts interviewing you, okay? So the interface with the client, maybe a client brings something to your team. That guy is the person that interacts with the client to be able to elicit the requirements properly, because the client may not be able to communicate what he wants in a single statement. So when the client states what he wants, the requirement engineer will document it and then ask further questions in order to properly elicit the thing that he would desire or that he was not able to mention when he was stating what he wanted. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay, in the absence of any other questions, I think we are going to call it a day now. All right. Thank you for attending. God bless you. You can now leave the meeting if you want